chuckling, cracking jokes about how he had wanted to lose weight. 45 pounds in just a short period of time, and then 8 kgs in 10 days. He was laughing about it. And he was becoming a little enlivened because Dr. Shamabalaba his teachers had cured somebody in his condition. So this day, his mood shifted to, perhaps I can stay with the cows. And when Dharmatma handed the phone to him, Panchagoda was on the phone. I had brought certain medicines with me because of being diagnosed with skin cancer a year before. I'd been doing a lot of research on cancer, so I had all these medicines. And he said to Panchagoda, Kusha's here to help me. And this was a man that I had so much respect for and so much, I would say, almost awe at the service that he has performed for the Mataji cows and the Prabhuji cows, the bulls. I held him in such high esteem, but when he said that I was there to help take care of him, it broke some of my inhibition and caution towards him. And I started to come because he had invited me to come to take care of him. Just like Dr. Shamabalaba, how fortunate I felt in that invitation. And even though I'm supposed to be at Community Service Center doing service there, every day I was there with him, and that was my service. And one day I was trying to get him to take some medicine in his hand, and just the right small amount to drop. And he reached to grab my hand, but I pulled away because of all the social restrictions. But that night, Parvati told me that he had grabbed her hand and clutched it. And I understood he needed the comfort of a Mataji. He needed the comfort of a mother. And so the next day, because of her telling me and sharing me that information, when he went to grab my hand, I let him grab my hand. And I felt so honored that he was safe. He felt safe. And I had been trying to get the boys to massage him because of all the restrictions of social etiquettes, but somehow they weren't doing it. So I broke again. That innocence, that complete innocence, he would never ask for anything. I asked, does anyone give you massage? And he said, Nandu gave me such a good massage. He knows Thai massage. He gave me the best massage. He is my soulmate. And it really touched me. And still I was trying to get some of the devotees, please, all the love he's given his cows, it's his time to receive. All the love he's given, he's pet the cows. For years and years, he's been petting and brushing and bathing the cows. It's his time to get petted and bathed and brushed and loved. Love him. And he broke me down. It needed to be done. So he accepted my service, even though it was difficult. And he was always the most proper person, the most proper person. I always had this huge awe and honor and respect for him, very cautious, very cautious. And I've been speaking with his sister and his brother, and I've learned a lot about him. When he learned a lesson, he learned it deeply and never made the same mistake twice. He would not become attached to material things after his camera was stolen went right in his youth, in his late teens. He never would get attached to any other material thing. So the innocence that he was able to completely share with me, and the cows, and all of us, that return to innocence is so necessary. That childlike, Baalik innocence is so necessary for our spiritual life. And I just want to thank Kurma Rupa Prabhu from the bottom of my heart for answering my prayers. An angel in life and an angel in dying. Thank you very much, Kurma Rupa. Hare Krishna.
We'd like to thank Kusadevi Dasi for wonderfully describing this wonderful innocence of Kurma Rupa, and how he also taught that innocence to her. This is another theme that we see everyone's talking about, how by serving the cows, his heart became very soft. So next I'd like to call upon Devi Shakti Devi Dasi. All right, we'll go to that. I'm going to get some girls in here, so okay, after everyone. So we'll ask Nandu, please come offer his Shraddhanjali for this. Meanwhile, he's coming. Here's a letter from our Panchagoda. Dear Kurma Rupa Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You are most fortunate to meet this world in Brajadharam, surrounded by loving friends and devotees chanting the holy name of the Lord at full time. When my family moved to Vrindavan in 93, you instantly became a great friend to us and was a source of constant learning and inspiration. Mr. Farber, my older son, was your student for a couple of years, and you very kindly gave him a lot of personal attention. He has very fond memories of you, and he has applied his training in his life. My younger son, Ram, remembers his time on you. Ram had been inspired that you took care of cows and those animals that needed attention. So he started sending donations for your Care for Cows program due to his affection for you. Last week, when we were speaking on the phone, you were mentioning how much you were fond of my voice. You were a solid friend, straightforward, honest devotee, very much caring for Lord Krishna's cows, and appreciated by all for your long dedicated services to the Prabhupada, cow seva and Vaishnava seva. We will miss you very much, but we can follow in your footsteps by developing my love for Gomata and Vaishnava qualities of love and compassion. Please pray for us here in our pursuit of serving and devotion. Kurma Rupa Ki Jai, your servant Panchagoda.
मम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Well, Kurma Rupa Prabhu for me was he was my father, my spiritual master, my teacher. Grew up with him in the Gurukula, and along with all of those things, the most important one for me, that he was my friend. He was a source of love for me. he taught me what is really love. And in his life, of course, I mean, I've learned so much from him. I mean, I remember when he first came to Gurukul, I was in a very pathetic state of existence. Gurukul was really tough. There was teachers, monitors, other kids who were just not supposed to be there. And then Kurma Rupa Prabhu came and he literally like just took me out of my pathetic existence there. Like literally, I was on the second floor, and when Kurma Rupa Prabhu came, we went up to the third floor of the Gurukul building. It was not just like allegorical, it was like I was lifted out. and it was like all of a sudden Gurukul became so nice. For me, that was what represents Gurukul, is my time with Kurma Rupa Prabhu. Otherwise, I don't even know what I would have, my opinion would have been something totally different. But he showed me what, for me, what was a father. He cared. Just like he cared for the cows. We used to go to the Yamuna. I remember before Kurma Rupa Prabhu came, we used to go to the Yamuna paraded like sheep in a line through the town of Vrindavan, showing off these bright little kids. And then Kurma Rupa Prabhu came and we were adventured to the Yamuna. We used to go into straight from Varahaghat, straight into the forests, into the gardens. And we used to go through the alleys and pick berries, steal berries from the farmers and get chased. And Kurma Rupa Prabhu used to just be there just like having fun the whole time. And we used to get to the Yamuna and we used to just like, all day, it was like our Sunday off. And we'd get clay all up here on our bodies and we'd put like these, it was fantastic times. And then Achyuta and Hansa Rupa Prabhu, they used to drive down in the gypsy with lunch. And we used to have these great picnics on the Yamuna. And it was like, wow, it was, for me, like, when I think of it, I'm like, wow, I have been to the spiritual world with a pure devotee. And I just didn't know it. For me, Kurma Rupa Prabhu was beyond any sannyasi I've ever seen in my life. He never lived in a place of his own. He didn't even rent a place. He was always cared for by Krishna himself. Every single place he had was the best. He was staying in Achyuta Prabhu's place. I mean, it was a fantasy world. And then after that, he gets sent to Kikinagla, where he has the view of Mother Yamuna and the whole of Vrindavan. And he's on the top. And he did not even lift a brick or stress for it even one bit. It was directly Krishna saying, I got you. You're mine. I take care of you. Kurma Rupa Prabhu never spent a dime on himself. Never. And that's part of who he was. He was, every money he would get, he would just use it for service. he would not even sell the milk from the cows. I would ask him, Prabhu, can I get some milk? Oh, I just got it for Krishna Balaram. It was just for Krishna Balaram. His cows were not his cows. He was very clear. His cows were Krishna and Balaram's cows. He saved my brother 2 times from drowning in the Yamuna. Like literally, I saw his head go down into the water. He was not visible anymore. And Kurma Rupa Prabhu was sitting on the banks. And it was like approximately a 10-foot drop. You know how in the Yamuna you can get like those banks. And I remember this time because Balaram used to like try to follow me, you know, like a little kid, like a tail, you know, on the brother. and like he was just learning to swim. And I was kind of also just learning to swim myself in the Yamuna. And I remember Balaram just disappeared and I was in the front and I didn't even notice, but then I see Kurma Rupa Prabhu just flying from this 12-foot bank just right into the Yamuna and just like literally like drag this kid out of the water, you know. And so like yeah, I mean his service for me was exemplary. For me, like Kurma Rupa Prabhu has shown that what is dependence on Krishna, what is service, what is real in life. In his life he showed me what is love. He came to Ahmedabad again and again to try to help me. But more than in life, what he's taught me is in his death. Kurma Prabhu, I was just in Peru, and I was getting these messages from Vivek, from Keshi Prabhu, that Kurma Prabhu is very ill and he's asking for you. I could not make it here. I just was stuck. I was stuck in my own world. I was stuck in a necessity for money. I was stuck in money. Because it's just where I am. I'm just stuck in wanting. And Krishna, my spiritual master, Kurma Rupa, he was calling. He was saying, come, I'm leaving. He came to me in a dream when I was not coming. And in the dream, he first came and he walked past me. And I saw that I looked at him and I saw that he didn't look at me. I was looking at the back of his head. And I was like, okay, he didn't see me. And I avoided him in my dream. I kept walking. And this is all in the dream. And then in the dream, he turned around. Because I avoided him, he called me. He gave me his attention. And he showed me a pear. And then he just took all the meat off the pear. Took all the meat off the pear. And there was just the seeds left. And he said, this is what's happening to me. I'm leaving. come. I want to see you. And I just couldn't get out of myself. I just couldn't. And then finally I was like, okay, yeah, it was like 10 days, 12 days, 2 weeks already since I've been getting these calls. And then after 2 weeks, I finally changed my ticket. And on the way here, in the most glorious of deaths that I've ever heard of in my life, in the most glorious of deaths that I've ever seen or heard of in my life, Prabhuji was already gone. But he's not gone. His physical body is gone. He's always here in his service, in his sincerity of service, of his realness. In his death, he's taught me one lesson. That what is real, just what is real, all this pursuance of just, for me, like, it's just so pointless. It's so pointless. At the cost of love of God Himself, of Krishna Himself. Such opportunity of love, of such, and it's just like to get carried away for like glass. Anyways, I'm just like, I just want to forever thank my master and my mentor, my teacher, my father, for his love, for his care, for his blazing the path, literally, of surrender to Krishna. Just surrender. He just surrendered everything. And Krishna has shown how he takes care of his devotee by showing how he took care of Kurma Rupa Prabhu. For me, like, the way he's taking care of Kurma Rupa Prabhu, I've never seen anyone possibly even take care of themselves. I mean, the kind of houses he's stayed in, the kind of service that he just got given because he surrendered everything to him. Kurma Rupa Prabhu, as far as I remember, since Gurukula times, which is approximately 25 years ago, he never lived in a place that was his or he paid for. And for me, that just says everything. That says what is a real sannyasi. A sannyasi who depends 100% on Sri Krishna. I just want to say thank you. And thank you. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for my stupidity. I'm so sorry that I could not make it. But in that, the lesson is even more strong. Kurma Prabhu has shown what is real love. If I don't come, he comes to me in my dream. If I'm stupid, he understands. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my love for him.
Kurma Prabhu ki. So we'd like to thank Nandu Prabhu for a view of Kurma Rupa that none of us ever got to see from the eyes of the child. Very heartfelt offering to those who love Kurma Rupa. So now again, we wish I please make Krishna Rajani. On the way, Raja Seviki unfortunately couldn't make it here, but she sent a very nice article. How care for cows in his usual jolly manner said, you know, this is how it all started. It's a funny thing. And he started laughing. As I watched him, I also started laughing, as you do. And I said, what? Tell me. It just got funnier and funnier. We were standing on the dirt track T-junction where he lived with two cows both laughing. And I had no idea why yet. He was shaking his head and said, I mean, it was so stupid. I don't know what I was thinking, man. I was tricked, he said. Tricked? How? Many years ago, he said, when he lived in what is now known as the Pepsi building, because it was painted the same blue as a Pepsi bottle and stuck out like a sore thumb on the landscape, he decided to make a vow. It was caretaking, told me, and a couple of cows like these two were always around. No one looked after them. No one knew who they belonged to. I'd feed them
There's so many people in the audience who were much closer to Kurma Rupa, and actually they should have spoken first. There's Abhiram, Vanabhata, Vasugos. I'm waiting to hear from them, Gopal. Our relationship was one of observance. We kind of hatched from the same nest. Anyone who had to pass through a New York temple, there was a kind of a bond, and we would watch each other. And of course, anyone who dedicates himself to the Vrindavan temple, that's even a deeper bond, because although we may not speak to each other, we're all watching each other and watching the tribulations and the trials that Krishna gives us here in our service. So when Kurma Rupa arrived and became a member of the Gurukula, he had a sting, and nobody would dare to go near him who was in a woman's body. He had that, we all knew that. So we could only watch what he was doing and appreciate what he was doing with the boys, how he took them out of the Gurukula and made that hut there down at the Goshala and saved those boys' lives by giving them a father image, giving them an education. And I know that even the parents who he replaced are eternally indebted to him. And Yasomati Nandan, he wrote that he was more of a father to my sons than I was. You have that offering that he wrote? Okay. So we watched, and we, from a distance, we appreciated Kurma Rupa. But there's something that happens here in Vrindavan, and it happens to all of us, and it's what I call the squeeze. That just like with a fruit or a flower, the seed gets squeezed out of the pod, and then you get into another situation and another situation. And sometimes it can be painful. So we watch each other as we get pushed out of one service and then into another service, and then another painful thing happens, often with the management, and then we have to go to another service. So we watched Kurma Rupa go through that, and because we all go through it together, it creates a bond amongst us. We don't even have to talk about it, but we see each other going through it, so we know what's happening in each other's lives, even though we may not even know each other's names. So after watching Kurma Rupa go through the Gurukula and his disappointments, and then finally finding a haven now in his service with the cows, he started to soften. And I would bring him donations as much as possible, bring him people from the fundraising department, bring him money or whatever I could to help him with his cows. And finally, after maybe he had been here 15 years, we finally spoke. And that's the way it is in Vrindavan. So by that time he had softened enough. He started to introduce me to his family members, and that's his cows and his bulls. And he would take me around, and anyone who knows Kurma Rupa knows that his most beloved was Krishna, the ox, who he had adopted after Balaram had died. He was so attached to Krishna, and he told me all about Krishna's life, and he showed me Krishna's girlfriend, and I could see in this relationship that he had with Krishna that he so much identified with Krishna. He said, well, he's got this girlfriend now, and she keeps him happy, and she's always by his side. And quite frankly, when Krishna died, a part of Kurma Rupa seemed to have died also. And he made a samadhi for Krishna with the horns, and he would come to meditate, chant his rounds at Krishna's samadhi. And then he started showing me his other friends, and who adopted who, which mother cow took in the stray calf, and it was such a complicated family relationship. And he knew every innuendo of every cow, calf, and bull that he was taking care of. It had nothing to do with them being animals. They were people, and they all had their personalities. And if you got anywhere near him, he would open up this whole world to you so that you could be drawn in to all this love and affection that he had for his family members. So then the sad day came when he was getting squeezed out of the place. A wealthy owner was taking back the land. And again, we watched the anguish and the drama. Where was he going to get squeezed to next? And then Krishna arranged this wonderful place in Kikinagla. Of course, never knew what was going to happen next. But this last one, which was his disease. Now, I was in America. Of course, Kurma Rupa, he was so dedicated. He had a business visa. He never had a visa problem. Krishna arranged that. He could come and go and preach and do anything he needed to do. He was such acumen. He had all of his accounts together in America. He knew how to bring in all the money. He just knew how to do everything perfectly for his cows. And he was telling me how he did it, and I tried to do it for our projects here. And the first thing they did was freeze my account, and they thought that I was, nobody could do it the way Kurma Rupa did it, because he was so expert. And he just knew that everything was going to go to the cows. So there was no one like him. And he would preach. He would go everywhere in the world to preach for his cows. Although he was fully dedicated to Vrindavan, he didn't mind going anywhere in the world to preach for his project here. And at the same time, when it was time to go, he was right here. And that was another lesson that all the Vrindavan devotees have to learn. We should be prepared to preach, to go anywhere like Kurma Rupa did, for our projects, for our loves here. And then at the right time, Krishna will arrange everything for us. So I was going through a death process, and the experts were giving me books to read about what's happening, because of course we as devotees, we have our expertise in Krishna philosophy, but then people like hospice workers, professional hospice workers who are dealing with death all the time, they have their expertise also. So the hospice workers in America were giving me this literature to read because my mother was dying at the same time. And I was learning so much from this, and it's explained in there that when a person seems to be just lying in the bed, semi-conscious, not really making eye contact, there's a lot going on internally that we're not aware of. They're communicating with people in the next world. They're preparing for their next step. They're very busy while they're just lying there in the bed. So we might think that the person's overcome by disease and not responding and unconscious, but actually they're very busy and they're preparing for their next step in life. So I just got here the day before Kurma Rupa left. I went to see him. He didn't respond, but I knew how busy he was. He was getting ready to go see all of his friends who had gone before him, getting ready to go see Krishna and Balaram. And he was really busy, although it looked like he was just lying there. And I also knew that at that point, at that stage, you don't try to revive them and bring them back. You try to help them move on so that they can go back peacefully to the spiritual world by chanting, by just making them comfortable. So it was glorious. His life was glorious, his death was glorious, and we're all so fortunate to have been able to observe this great personality and help him on his path back to Krishna Balaram. Jai.
So we'd like to thank Mary Shakti Dasi for a wonderful explanation of how she became part of Kurma Rupa's family.
His Grace Kurma Rupa Prabhu was like a father to all of us, to most of us. He came in 2011, and somehow by the grace of His Holiness Maharaji Maharaj, we got connected to His Grace Kurma Rupa Prabhu. And every time we got the chance to meet him, he encouraged us in Go Seva and gave us wonderful spiritual instructions. It was he was very loving, very encouraging, and we had a few groups that we would take out from Mumbai, and we would get to him and he would give classes to them about the importance of Go Seva and how it was directly connected to Krishna consciousness. We had the fortune of being with him in his last days also, and I would genuinely like to thank all the wonderful God brothers and God sisters who came to support him. What I got through the whole experience, that it really mattered. All those who came and showed their love and affection for him. And I was fortunate when Deenbandhu Prabhu, Kusha Mataji and Manjari Mataji came that day, and I was there to witness. Kurma Rupa Prabhu's mood was so enlivened when the God brothers came to visit him, and they were joking and talking. So it really mattered. And also our heroes, Dinanath Prabhu, Satyadev Prabhu, who were 24 hours with him. Dinanath Prabhu flew all the way from Australia just to be 24 hours in serving His Grace Kurma Rupa Prabhu. Of course, ISKCON Prabhu and many others who have been there throughout the whole episode. Just really want to thank everybody for being there, for serving His Grace Kurma Rupa Prabhu. Also, pray for encouragement and blessings from everybody for the future of Care for Cows. We need the moral support from everyone so that we can carry on in the loving service of the cows. This was his dream, his Grace Kurma Rupa Prabhu, serving the cows, especially Care for Cows. This is his project. So, requesting and praying to everybody that we can carry on nicely. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We'd like to thank Damodar Prabhu for his wonderful memories of Guru in the last days, and also I request everyone to please offer their blessings so they can carry on Guru's legacy. And also I'd like to call Dinanath Prabhu to come give his Shraddhanjali for the feet of Guru.
Hare Krishna. I'd like to just speak briefly about a different side of Kurma Rupa Prabhu. So Krishna says, Parichanaya Saranam Vinashaya Chatuskritam. So everybody knows Kurma Rupa Prabhu is protecting the devotees and the cows. But there's another side to him, which was Vinashaya Chatuskritam, that he had a piercing intelligence to kick out any kind of hypocrisy. And he was also a great devotee of Bhagavad Gita. I was fortunate enough to spend the last maybe 4 or 5 days with him, 24 hours a day, under the care of Satyadev Prabhu. So I asked him especially, I asked him that, Prabhu, where do you find your mind turning to at this point in time? He said to me that his mind is turning to the unparalleled expertise and determination and dedication of Srila Prabhupada in presenting Bhagavad Gita to the world, and also presenting it and explaining it to the devotees. He said this was Prabhupada's offering to the world, that presenting Bhagavad Gita. And we spoke on this topic. He told me that I saw him, we were talking Bhagavad Gita, and I saw him, he became very emotional, talking about Krishna's expertise in dealing with Arjuna, in that Krishna had told Arjuna, you give up your affection to your compromised gurus, Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya. So Krishna's dealings is so expert that because Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya are senior to Krishna, Krishna did not criticize them directly. Krishna's approach was to chastise Arjuna for not having the potency and strength of heart to follow proper dharma. So seeing how Krishna dealt with that situation, Prabhuji became visibly emotional at seeing how Krishna dealt with that. For me personally, I knew Prabhu. I was living in India, Vrindavan, for maybe 4 or 5 years, just at the time when Food Care for Cows was starting. I took an initiation under social and institutional pressure, and as we know, that kind of relationship cannot last. So I asked my initiating guru that I would like to take shelter of Kurma Rupa Prabhu. So my initiating spiritual master did not give permission. So I tried to follow etiquette. So I asked him again. And the second time, he did not give permission. So I asked him a third time, and the third time he did not give permission. So, but I understand now that the spiritual relationship is not dictated by that type of formality, and the heart continually goes where it needs to go. So anyway, my heart was always to Prabhuji, and from that time I observed him very closely. And I just like to ask everybody that if anyone wants to do something to continue his legacy, yes, there is cow protection. You please do that. That is paritranaya sadhanam. Now maybe everybody cannot participate in a great degree in that service, but there is also vinashaya chaduskritam, which Prabhuji was very dedicated to. So if you want to do something in that part of his legacy, you please study Bhagavad Gita very, very seriously. And if you see hypocritical standards, and in particular hypocritical leadership, please do what you can to address that. So these are Prabhu's legacies. I ask you to take your feet and ask you to take up that legacy if you're able. Hare Krishna.
Hare Kurma Rupa Prabhu. So we'd like to thank Dinanath Prabhu for shedding light on another side of Kurma Rupa. We also saw that he eventually left the group because he wasn't satisfied with what was going on there. He always stuck to his principles. So Prabhu is encouraging us to follow this example of Kurma Rupa also. So next, I'd like to ask Abhirama Prabhu to give his offering at the Lotus feet. The camera can't see you, sit there. He also has a program question. That's the
Panchakalpatarubhyascha Dripasindhubhyayavacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So, I'm very honored to speak a few words about Kurma Rupa Prabhu. You won't often see me at assemblies, remembrance ceremonies and such things, because I genuinely do not feel that I have the right to speak the glories of Srila Prabhupada or the glories of such great devotees as Kurma Rupa Prabhu in public places, but rather I feel obligated to do something. I don't do much, but I realize that to avoid hypocrisy